Microsoft in recent years have earned the title as the laughingstock of the console wars, and while this wasn't always the case, there were a lot of decisions made that put Microsoft in the spot they're in currently. When people look back at the generations of the Xbox console, most look at the 360 as Microsoft in their prime. You've got Halo, you've got Gears of War, you've got Call of Duty DLC releasing a month earlier on Xbox than PlayStation, you've got the Xbox Live Arcade, which had tons of great indie games available. The Xbox 360 was Microsoft at their most competitive, firing on all cylinders. There were so many great incentives to choosing an Xbox 360 over a PlayStation 3, yet they somehow still lost to PlayStation in sales. The console sales numbers probably didn't bother Xbox that much, considering they were squeezing every dollar out of their player base after they bought their console, while both PlayStation and Nintendo were offering online features for free for everyone. Xbox was charging players $60 a year just to play online. Xbox would have made a ton of money extorting their players for online features, but it almost definitely hurt them in the long run. The amount of people who bought a PlayStation 3 just based on its free online features and then went on to buy later generations of PlayStation consoles because they got introduced to that ecosystem during the PS3 era would have been huge. If you weren't a fan of Halo or Gears, the PS3 was almost an objectively better deal. For me personally, none of that extra stuff really mattered. Xbox had Halo, and that completely dictated my choice in choosing a console. I remember when I was around 12 years old, I was over at a friend's house and his mum had promised him a new Xbox. I had so much secondhand excitement because I didn't have a 360 at this point, and I'd always watched gameplay of Halo 3 and Reach on YouTube. I remember we went to the store, picked it up, brought it home, plugged it in, and boom. Red Ring of Death almost immediately. We both knew what it was, like the Red Ring of Death was almost an urban myth at that point. But the thing is, this wasn't the original white Xbox, this was the Slim. You know, the one that they released to fix the Red Ring issues? On top of all of that, this was 2011, over half a decade since the launch of the 360, plus it was a revised version later, and it was still broken out of the box. Even as a dumbass 12-year-old kid, I remember thinking, man, what a piece of shit hardware this thing is. Didn't stop me, however, because the next day I went to my dad, gave him every dollar I had, and begged him for an Xbox. That just shows how much of a draw Halo had for the Xbox. Straight up, that series carried the entire Xbox brand and company on its back for almost 10 years. If it wasn't for the brilliance of Halo, Xbox wouldn't even be here right now, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. The Xbox 360 was reported as having a 50% failure rate. That is, every second Xbox ever made was broken. I mean, there's no way they can make a worse console than that. The Xbox One is the most evil piece of electronic hardware in mankind's history. It was an evil joke played on gamers designed to psychologically torture them until their brains snapped. The Xbox One is where Microsoft went out for blood. Anything you wanted to do either cost you your time, your money, or your sanity. This console single-handedly killed achievements on the Xbox platform. The entire achievement hunting culture that had been built up for years and years during the Xbox 360 era came crashing down faster than the Covenant after the Arbiter team killed Truth.
Betrayal.
Almost every action you did with this console was met with an insane amount of loading screens. You'd get an achievement pop, press the Xbox button, and then look at a loading screen for 30 seconds. After like the third time, I just didn't care anymore. Whatever the achievement was, I wasn't interested. Before the release of the Xbox One, they actually tried to make it so you couldn't share games with friends, and on top of that, you'd have to be connected to the internet at all times just to play. But Microsoft, you say, what if I can't be connected to the internet at all times? What if I live in a country with poor internet? Well, their response was, fuck you, bucko, go play the 360. That was their response. Don't give us your money, play our old system instead. Or you could just buy a PlayStation. In 2001, Microsoft released the Xbox. Then in 2005, they released the Xbox 360. Pretty easy to follow so far. Then in 2013, they released the Xbox One. Not to be confused with the first Xbox, which is the original Xbox One, just called the Xbox. This one is actually the Xbox 3, not to be confused with the Xbox 360. Then after that, they released the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X, which is actually not to be confused with the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X, which is actually the Xbox 4 and the Xbox 5, which are slight upgrades on the Xbox One. This Xbox One, not this Xbox One. The Series X is actually the Xbox 6, and the Series S is actually the Xbox 7, which you can also get with or without the disc tray. Can you see where this starts to get confusing? Like, how the fuck is anybody who isn't in the know supposed to understand any of this? I did like hours of research on this and I still don't understand it myself. Even the controller was anti-consumer by design. Microsoft decided to launch the Xbox One with a controller that had this fucking proprietary connector for audio, so you could either use the shitty headset that came with the console, or go out and buy a new headset that works with this controller. They did actually add a 3.5mm jack for the Xbox One controller, but it was about 2 years after its release. I remember buying 2 controllers during my time with the Xbox One, both of which were broken out of the box. Remind you of anything? Like, I remember connecting my controller and the Xbox button didn't work, or like one of the shoulder buttons would click and the other one was complete mush. That was the point where I went, fuck Microsoft, fuck the Xbox, I'm buying a PlayStation. I've been using the same PlayStation controller that I bought in like 2017 and it's working perfectly fine. I think it's safe to say we have our loser of the console war. Their flagship series, Halo, is currently in one of the most abysmal states the series has ever seen. Their main competitor PlayStation has doubled their sales 2 generations in a row now, and most if not all their exclusive games are available on other platforms. While PlayStation have just pumped out hit after hit after hit, Xbox have sat on the sidelines with their thumbs up their asses just buying studios. Xbox have been doing some restructuring of the studios they've acquired recently, and while I try to stay optimistic of what's in store for the next Halo game, all signs point to more disappointment. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 10 years we see Xbox pull out of the console game entirely and shift their focus on developing or publishing games and cloud services like Game Pass. In my eyes, Xbox has one more console generation to gain some ground back, develop some games that aren't just safe, generic-looking, uninspired titles, spend some real money and make some actual innovative and interesting games. Or they could just increase the prices of everything.